What up, YouTube? It's your boy Darius. I want to thank you guys for watching. You guys could be anywhere else in the world. You hearing me? I really appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe to your boy. Leave a like. If you guys have any recommendation, leave it in the comment section. I get to it as soon as possible. What about to do right now? About react to the 7-year-old that was murdered by his famous wrestler dad by Anna Solve. This is Anna Oop secondary video when she saw mystery and everything, and she discussed the crime and what happened in the past. So obviously this is gonna be about Chris Benoit. Those who know me know that I'm a huge wrestling fan. You know what I'm saying? And like Chris Benoit, he always been one of my favorite wrestlers. He like, even after everything, he's still in my top 10 wrestling list of all time. You know what I'm saying? Granted, we talk about wrestling, but with that being said, I can't excuse like what happened 15 years ago. It was 15 years ago today, when we found out the horrific that happened with him and his family, where he's murdered his wife and his child, and it's unfortunate. It's more than unfortunate. It's just sickening. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to believe it. Like, when we found out, like, this was when MySpace was really popping. So when I found out the news, everyone was in MySpace. We were all trying to figure out what happening. What was happening? You know what I'm saying? And then it became official the very next day that it was a murder suicide. We heard it, and we were all just devastated. We were always just blown away. And it's just sad, man. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like this tragedy, it's just, it really just nearly destroyed the pro wrestling, not just WWE, but the entire pro wrestling world. You know what I'm saying? It's just sad. I honestly say this is one of the main reasons why WWE went PG the following year. This is one of the main reasons, because it's just so much bad publicity that came from this. But that I just said what I said, and I'll be blah blah blah. Let's get to the video.
While the world called him the greatest wrestler of all time,
he was one
the
of the
7-year-old simply referred to him as Pooh Bear. He never imagined that the man he loved and admired most in the world would one day turn on him in the worst possible way.
I like that turn on him, because it is a wrestling term, turn on him. I like how he used that word.
Of the 7-year-old that was killed by his famous wrestler dad.
Not just the 7-year-old, by his the wife too. Don't forget the wife, Nancy Benoit. You know what I'm saying? Nancy Benoit is a legendary manager. And she didn't deserve to be her demise
Chris
as well.
Benoit was born in 1967 in Quebec, Canada,
That's
to
true.
his parents, Michael and Margaret Benoit. He grew up in Edmonton, Alberta, and knew from a young age that he wanted to become a professional wrestler. He idolized wrestlers such as Bret Hart and Dynamite Kid after watching them at a local wrestling event when he was just 12 years old. Determined to make his dream come true, Chris trained at the legendary Hart Family Dungeon alongside his icon.
And that's the thing about Chris Benoit. He was always passionate about pro wrestling. That's the type of person he was. He said, he was always passionate. He loved pro wrestling. He loved that business. Loved the business so much that it destroyed him and his family at the end. I don't want to get into conspiracy theory because I don't believe that
many
BS.
Of Bret and Dynamite Kid's
sure,
wrestling moves, such as the sharpshooter and diving headbutt. Chris started his career in 1985 and went on to work for major wrestling promotions such as World Wrestling Federation, WWF, now WWE, World Championship Wrestling, WCW, and Extreme Championship Wrestling, as well known as New Japan Pro Wrestling.
I did not
During
like
his
ECW,
22-year-long career, Chris became a wrestling icon.
Yep, that's
with
true.
22
Facts.
championships, including WCW World Heavyweight Championship and World Heavyweight Championship in WWE. But all these achievements would be overshadowed by one tragic event that shook the entire wrestling world.
And that's the most devastating part. Chris Benoit was one of the most respected wrestlers at the time. You know what I'm saying? Everyone respected Chris Benoit. From the wrestlers, from the wrestlers to the fans. Everyone loved him. You know what I'm saying? Nothing could fandom the fact that this would happen. As a matter of fact, I think the week before he died, they even said Chris Benoit was going to be a future Hall of Famer. And guess what? He, after all the accomplishment and everything, he deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, what happened at that famous what happened during that weekend, it completely nullified all his achievement. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that.
During his stint in WCW, Chris was scripted to have an on-screen affair with the wife of another wrestler, Kevin Sullivan. The script,
he was a famous booker
Kevin
for
himself,
WCW.
forced his real-time wife, Nancy.
And he's the one who influenced Hulk Hogan to turn heel in 1996 that would really form NWO.
Spend a lot of time with Chris in order to sell the story to the public. So the two would be seen holding hands in public and even sharing hotel rooms.
That's true.
Well, Sullivan, my bishop takes your queen. Checkmate.
Nice.
Kevin Sullivan first met Nancy when she was 20 years old and working as a model. She was also married to another guy called Jim, but Kevin convinced her to be part of his wrestling entourage, and she ended up divorcing her then husband and marrying Kevin in 1985. The on-screen affair between Chris and Nancy began in 1996, and it soon developed into a real affair, to the point of even ending Nancy and Kevin's marriage.
Well,
Chris was also married with 2 kids, ended up divorcing his wife to live with Nancy.
Wow.
The two soon got engaged, and on February 25th, 2000, they had their first and only child together, Daniel Christopher Benoit.
I want to mention it before we go any further. I don't believe Kevin Sullivan had anything to do with Chris Benoit, because they've been splitting up for like how long? I want to say 7 years, like before the tragedy happened. So why on earth would Kevin Sullivan just flip out and just murder Chris Benoit and Nancy in the shower? Why would we do that after 7 years? That didn't make sense. And Kevin Sullivan was in another state at the time. You know, so I think it was in one of the Carolinas, which I know is not too far from Georgia, but still. He was in another state, so why would he murder Chris Benoit, the wife, and the child after 7 years? That shit didn't make sense, but I digress.
They also got married the same year in November. They bought a house in Georgia where Nancy stayed with her son while Chris traveled around for work. Now, people who knew Chris personally said that he was a great father who loved spending time with his children.
I believe that.
This voicemail from Daniel to his dad shows the kind of bond that the two had with each other.
When the message was left.
Hi, Pooh Bear. We'll be back soon, okay? Just be there, okay? Hey, Pooh Bear.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Hey, Pooh Bear.
That's so sweet.
Around that time, Chris left WCW for WWE.
NXT. NXT was around with Chris Benoit.
But in 2003, barely 3 years into his marriage, Nancy filed for divorce.
That's right. They almost got into a divorce. That's right.
Broken. She also got a restraining order against Chris,
that's
saying
right.
that he had been cruel towards her. But the two soon made up, and Nancy dropped both the divorce suit and the restraining order. Sadly, this would turn out to be a fatal mistake on her part.
I must say, I hate to say it, and I really do. Kind of wish that she would have went through the divorce. You know what I'm saying? That way, her and her son Daniel would still be alive. Or like, you know what? But then again, you never know. You never know. You know what I'm saying?
November 2005, a huge tragedy hit the wrestling community.
Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero.
Rest in peace, Eddie. You're the legend, man.
Having suffered a heart attack. As you can imagine, Chris was totally devastated, since Eddie was his best friend and road partner. In this video tribute to
Hey, you know what? I said it. Let me say this. Let me finish a little bit.
You can actually see him breaking down at the
he
thought of
did.
never seeing his friend again.
And Eddie,
dude, that was heartbreaking, man.
I know that you're in a better place, and I know that you're looking down on me right now. Knowing that I love you, and I miss you.
That was pure devastation. Man, it started getting chills down my spine, yo. Wow.
Chris's friends would later say,
let me say this before we move on. I truly believe that when Eddie died, may he rest in peace, I believe that when Eddie Guerrero died, it was only a matter of time before Chris Benoit died. I kind of knew that Chris was going to die sooner or later. I just didn't know that the tragedy was going to happen. I don't think anyone knows. Like, you ask like true wrestling fans, and they'll say the same thing. They'll say the same thing. Like, I kind of figured that Chris was going to go like sooner or later. I didn't know that was going to happen. But let's continue on the video.
Eddie's death marked the beginning of the end for Chris.
I agree with that. I agree.
On Saturday, June 23rd, 2007, at around 3:30 p.m., Eddie's nephew, Chavo Guerrero, who also happened to be a close friend of Chris, received a voice message from him stating that both Nancy and Daniel had food poisoning and that he would be late for the night's events in Texas. While Chavo called Chris back, he noticed that he sounded groggy and tired as he repeated everything he had said in his voice message. Chris ended the conversation by saying, "Chavo, I love you." Now, while this was something that they would often say to each other, the way he said it made Chavo feel that something was off.
We always tell each other we love each other.
Yeah.
But this was really forced. It was not forced. It was really like made a point of it. It was like, hey man, okay, I love you, brother. Okay, no, it was like, Chavo, I love you.
I want you to understand this.
Basically, yeah.
Don't forget this.
Coming from a man with very few words.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, I love you too, bro.
Chavo was concerned about Chris's tone and demeanor, so he tried calling him back 12 minutes later, but Chris did not pick up. Chavo left him a message asking him to call him back. At 3:44, Chris called and told him that he did not answer the call because he was on the phone with Delta Airlines changing his flight. He reassured Chris that he was okay and was only stressed because of his wife and son being sick. So Chavo was like, "All right, man, if you need to talk, I'm here for you." And then he hung up, not knowing that it would be the last time he would ever talk to his friend again. That night, Chris never showed up for the event.
That's
but
right,
he later left Chavo a voicemail saying that he would be on the flight that would arrive in Houston at 8 a.m. Sunday morning. But on Sunday...
On Sunday, we all knew, like, when we were on MySpace, we all knew that, we started seeing stories of, Chris Benoit being late and everything. We look at it, I was like, that is weird. The reason why this is weird, and she didn't mention this, is that Chris Benoit was supposed to face CM Punk at Vengeance that year, 2007. That was probably a dream match, and I was actually looking forward to that match. But Chris Benoit never showed up. And then we got Johnny Nitro, who became John Morrison. He took over and he won the ECW title. It was actually for the ECW title. You know what I'm saying? We were all looking forward, and we were all like disappointed, but we not so much you can say disappointed, but we were also confused, like, what the hell? Like, because this was not Chris Benoit nature. Granted, none of the fans knew Chris Benoit as a person, but we know that this was just odd. You got to get what I'm saying?
24th, 2007, at around 5 a.m. Chavo was woken up by some really strange texts.
So I look at the my text, and I'm like, that's weird. It says, the dogs are in the enclosed pool area. The garage door is open. I looked at it, I was like, well, that's weird.
A few seconds later, another text came in, this time from Nancy's phone, saying the exact same thing. Then another text came from Chris, giving him his home address. Well, this
really why I'm talking, because I already know what happened, but...
definitely odd. Chavo went back to sleep telling himself that he was picking Chris up at the airport in a few hours. What he didn't know, at the time, was that these same messages had been sent out to several people. At around 8 a.m., Chavo was at the airport waiting for his friend, but Chris was a no-show. Later that morning, Chris called WWE's talent relations officer to say that his son was vomiting and that he and Nancy were at the hospital with him. He also said that he would be taking a later flight to Houston, where he was scheduled to face CM Punk for the Extreme Championship Wrestling pay-per-view
but
event.
ECW title.
However, Chris never showed up for the event, and his phone went unanswered after this. On Monday, June 25th...
And you know what the crazy part is? By the time the pay-per-view started, he was already dead. Think about it. By the time the pay-per-view started, Chris Benoit was already dead. But nobody knew about it. You know what I'm saying? At least not the talent or relation, not WWE. You know what I'm saying? It's damn sure not the fans. Like, not like when we were on MySpace, none of us knew about this. You know what I'm saying? We consider ourselves smart marks, or, you know, IWC. You know, we think we know everything. In this instant, we really didn't know anything. We really didn't know.
2007. Everyone was starting to get worried since no one had heard from Chris in over 24 hours. Chavo, who by now had realized that he was not the only one that received the strange messages from Chris and Nancy's phone, went to the WWE's Vice President of Talent Relations and showed him the texts. And that's when the head of security in the company called the cops.
Good.
My name is Dennis Fagan. I'm a retired detective in New York City. I run the security for World Wrestling, and one of our wrestlers that lives down there is missing. And he told me to say we need a welfare check done.
Okay, what's the address?
130 Green Meadow Lane.
Yo.
The police arrived at the former wrestler's home at around 2:30 p.m., and what they found was something out of a horrible nightmare. Chris's wife Nancy was found dead in an upstairs bedroom with her body wrapped in a towel and a copy of the Bible laying beside her.
Wow.
Her hands and feet were bound together, and her injuries indicated that someone had pressed a knee into her back while pulling a cord around her neck, causing strangulation.
Wow.
Due to the state of decomposition, officials believed that she likely died on Friday, June 22nd. Little Daniel was found suffocated and killed in his bedroom with a copy of the Bible lying beside his body. He had internal injuries to the throat area, showing no bruises. Toxologists found Xanax in his system and determined that he was likely unconscious when he was killed. Though his body had also started to show signs of decomposition, it was not as far along as his mother's. As for Chris...
See, that's the fucked up thing about this. It's like... let's finish here about Chris, but...
He was found hanging from a lat pull-down machine.
And I wanted to explain what I think happened.
With a Bible placed beside him. He had used a weight machine cord to hang himself by creating a noose from the end of the cord from which the bar had been removed. There were cans of 10 empty beers and an empty bottle of wine near Chris's body. After receiving the devastating news, WWE chairman...
Let me see. I think I want to see what happened. I think on that Friday night, was it Friday? Yeah, Friday night on June 22nd. I think Chris and Nancy got into an argument. You know, they got to one of the arguments. Whatever. I can't say what it's about. You know, and then things got violent and foul toe. You know, and Chris just it just hold her down and just strangle her. You know what I'm saying? And a killer. I don't think Chris meant to kill her, but I don't know. I just don't believe that he meant to do that. I didn't think he meant to subdue her. You know what I'm saying? It may sound silly, but that's just what I think. You know what I'm saying? People forget about Nancy. Like, she was also foul too. Like, from story that I heard that she was also foul towards Chris Benoit and towards other guys as well. You know what I'm saying? And she not no joke and everything. And this not to say that Nancy deserved. No, she did not deserve it at all. She did not deserve it. But who really didn't deserve it was the child. You know what I'm saying? Nancy's sister has stated that if anything was to happen to either Chris or Nancy, that she will be able to take care of Daniel. And I believe that. I strongly believe that. You know what I'm saying? I'd heard that they were all close. I know that the sister were really close with Daniel. You know, like a auntie nephew relationship, like a bond. You know what I'm saying? I believe that. So Chris. He did not have to do that, man. He was to say he was wrong would be an understatement. You know what I'm saying? That's just a coward way out. That's just a coward way out to me, because you did not have to kill your son, yo.
And CEO Vince McMahon gathered the other wrestlers to tell them that Chris, along with his wife and son, were dead. The 3-hour-long live show that had been scheduled to take place that night was canceled and replaced with a tribute for Chris.
Yeah, it was.
WWE superstar Chris Benoit, his wife Nancy, and their son Daniel are dead. Their bodies were discovered this afternoon
Yeah,
in their new suburban Atlanta home. The authorities are undergoing an investigation. We here in the WWE can only offer our condolences to the extended family of Chris Benoit. And the only other thing we can do at this moment is tonight pay tribute to Chris Benoit.
This announcement was made before.
And I know a lot of people want to bash WWE for doing the tribute show, but we just heard the news that day of Chris Benoit. You only have a few hours, and you don't know all the information. What else can you do? You can't just move forward and say, we need to wait for no, they're gonna pay tribute to one of the best wrestlers of all time. You know what I'm saying? So I don't blame WWE for doing this. You know what I'm saying? I really don't. I know people want to say, "Oh, WWE should do that." Those are the people who just hate WWE with their passion, and I feel like it's just stupid for them to just, you know what I'm saying? Like to blame WWE for making a tribute show. You know what I'm saying? But when they find out of the information, Vince McMahon came out and tell other people of a horrific news, and that he decided to erase Chris Benoit from history. And I will get to that after.
Reports came out that the police were not looking at any suspects and were working under the belief that Chris murdered his wife and kid before ending his own life. When the company came to learn about it, Vince McMahon released a statement saying, "The company completely distanced itself from Chris to the point of even removing his name from their websites, broadcasts, and publications."
I don't blame WWE for doing that either.
The question that lingered in people's minds was, why? Why did he do it? Everyone who knew Chris described him as a great father who really loved his family.
I believe that, but it's like something had to snap.
The toxicology report on Chris's body revealed that there were high levels of testosterone found in his system. According to the WWE's lawyer, Chris was put on testosterone as a part of a treatment to help curb his steroid abuse. Some people believe that this could have contributed to his violent behavior, which led to the crimes. Another popular theory, which even Chris's father believes, is that Chris could have been suffering from repeated, untreated concussions.
But that one I believe.
Which ultimately led to an unstable mental state.
He had all these concussions. They found out he had all these concussions on his brain.
That it resembled that of an 85-year-old Alzheimer's patient.
Yep, that is true.
This could have somehow contributed to his crimes.
I don't believe it is steroids. I never believe that because a lot of people have taken steroids. You know what I'm saying? And and there are people who were violent, but not people don't just kill their wife over kill their wife and children over 3-day periods. You know what I'm saying? Even on steroids. You know what I'm saying? I don't believe that. I believe it was a lot of factors. I believe concussion was one of them. You know what I'm saying? I believe that depression was another, because he was still depressed over Eddie Guerrero's death. I think it was just a volatile marriage. It's just a lot of things combined at once. Maybe steroids, they play like a small. If it play any role, it play like a small role.
To the human brain, especially when violence.
I definitely think concussion played a huge role, like CTE.
I don't think anybody in science or medicine knows, but I do think, to answer your question, that it did have a major impact, and I think there are other cases where this sort of brain damage does have very abnormal, uncharacteristic behavior, extreme behavior, including suicide.
But what do you think? Let me know your thoughts.
I just say what I think, man. It's just unfortunate, man. It's just unfortunate. Before I end this video, I just want to say one thing about the Hall of Fame. I don't like I said, I got Chris Benoit in my top 10 favorite wrestler of all time. Even after everything, I still have him in my top 10. But do I think he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame? No, I do not. I hate to say it, man, but after all the bad publicity and more importantly, what he did to his family, this would not be a good look for WWE at all. Do I think they need to mention him? WWE need to mention him again? Only in a historical aspect, not in a way to celebrate him. but in a way to say this actually happened. You know what I'm saying? Like for instance, his match with Randy Orton when Randy Orton won the World Heavyweight Championship. That's a historical aspect, not only for WWE but for Randy Orton's career. I think that should be mentioned as well. Also, he was a number one. He won the Royal Rumble at number one. So even though you should not celebrate Chris Benoit winning the Royal Rumble, I think you should mention that he was one of the wrestlers who won it at the number one spot. You guys get what I'm saying? I still think they should mention him in the historical aspect, but not so much to celebrate his life, or they shouldn't put him in the field game, nor they should put him in the Hall of Fame. But they definitely need to mention him in the historical aspect. With that being said, what do you guys think of this whole tragedy? Let me know coming down below. Leave a like, subscribe to your boy. You can check out our previous wrestling video down here. Peace, love, and rock.